All right, I am going to use some of my 2X Ultra Matte paint in black, any type of a metal finish paint, and a chip brush. This beautiful paper from Dollar Tree, gorgeous wrapping paper. I'm going to use something thick as a backing. I just have a piece of very, very thick black paper. And then this frame that we used last year to make a Halloween DIY. We're going to use it again. All right, so I laid this down. What you see on the inside is that inner circle is the size of the inside of that frame. I wanted to give it at least an inch above that so that I could put this over the back and give it sort of a shadowy look underneath. So you can see my struggle here. These are very sharp scissors, but this is how thick this paper is. Maybe a very thick cardstock. So just continue around. And this is the oval that I have when I'm done. It doesn't need to be perfect because it's going to be on the back. I'm going to lay it down on top of my paper. And you know, Dollar Tree paper is very thin, so just be careful. My usual technique of dragging the scissors will not work on this. And then I am going to place this paper over, just making sure that I have my pattern somewhat in the middle. If that doesn't matter to you, then you can just totally not even worry about that part. Okay, so now is the time of year to get your glue sticks on sale. Go to Walmart. They probably even have some on clearance because most of the kids have started back to school, here in the South anyway. I like the purple because it shows me exactly where I'm putting down my glue, and that is important because I want to be sure that I can see where I've been and make sure every area is going to be covered. I want a good grip from the glue onto this very thin paper. Nothing should be coming apart. Do it all the way to the edges. Okay, so then I am going to flip this over on top of the paper. This is why you want a little extra on your edge so you can get it exactly where you want it. Because like I said, fragile paper, you don't want to do anything that's going to stress or tear it. Okay, so I've pressed it down, and now I'm going to take my little squeegee, and this is a Mod Podge squeegee, and it's kind of a flexible, rubbery type material. It works really great for this on fragile pieces of paper because it won't tear anything. Well, so far, it hasn't torn anything. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that I burnish it down all the way to the edges, making sure that if there are any little lumps of glue that I've worked those all out to the outside. That way we don't have wrinkles and bubbles. I will trim off a large amount of this to make it a little more manageable. And I like the edge when I use a sanding block. So this is how I'm going to get that nice clean edge. Just using a sanding block. Y'all have seen this done before, and I do it all the time. But if you want to just use your scissors and fussy cut all the way around, you can do that too. Because really, once you get this backing on, you're not going to see your edges. This is just a personal preference for me. I am just going to continue around, make it nice and smooth all the way around. And it kind of gives it, you know, it adds to the age look of it when you kind of fray it off like that. Okay, so here is this painted in the beautiful matte black. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. We're going to make it even more gorgeous. There's so much detail in here that you can't see, right? Well, we're going to fix that up. So there are some screws in the back of this, assuming that this was probably maybe a picture frame or a mirror at one point. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that this frame itself is like a resin, very flimsy, very lightweight, which makes it convenient when you go to the thrift store and you're buying by the pound. This didn't weigh very much at all. Okay, I took the screws out because I need something to rest my backing on, and I can make a wider surface to put glue down if I use these little building blocks. So they happen to be the perfect width to go down in that little channel and rest over the areas where the screws were. So we'll have a nice flat surface so that we can apply glue. Now, just in case, go ahead and paint those black. If your frame is black, if it's white, then paint it white. That way, when you look at it from all directions, you don't see the wood block under there. You don't want to see the mechanics of it, right? So you're going to add glue to each of those sections and then pop your frame back on. And this is how it's going to look so far. I want to be sure I give good before pictures so that you can really tell the difference when we spruce it up. So I'm going to use this rich espresso on the frame, and I'm going to use this tarnished silver, it's like an alcohol spray. I think you use it mainly for crafting like paper crafts, but it gives such a nice patina and aged look that I like to use it on my older projects. I also, or the things that I want to appear antique, I also use this when I'm doing bones to make the bones look, you know, aged in a proper way. Okay, so when I get it on there, I'm just going to dry it with my little tool here. Get it all dry. I don't want anything smearing. So here's that rich espresso I was talking about. I have bronze colored paints, but I don't have anything that looks it doesn't look like the depth that I want in a bronze. And I think that this over the black is going to be like the perfect solution for that. And you can just tell me what you think. I think it definitely looks bronze, like an aged bronze. If you use that chippy brush and you just start going side to side, and sweeps all the way across. I'm not trying to get down in the cracks in this situation. The black is going to be down in all the spaces, and this more of a metallic color is going to sit on the high points. So it makes it look like it is sort of a tarnished look. Look how beautiful that metallic paint just brings out all the detail and the beading, the little filigree on the side. The shape of it is just highlighted, in my opinion, with this. It's so pretty. I had originally pulled out like a tarnished silver paint to do this, but since I'm changing my room into something that is more of a dark and moody theme, I thought I could use this in my room. So I wanted to make sure that it fit into kind of the aesthetic that I'm going for, which, by the way, is not very textbook dark and moody. It's definitely not dark academia because I don't have books everywhere, but you know, I'll be sharing some of that stuff with you guys as I go along. Now, see, now the paper is too stark white, and we want this to look a little more luxurious, more like a damask. So I am going to just kind of brush this all over, and I've barely got any paint in the brush, just barely. Put it in the centers of the little floral pieces, along all of the details. I want to go around the outside where there's like a lip that's like almost an inch between the front of the frame and the backing that I'm working on right now. And it gives it a shadow around the edge, which to me is so beautiful. I love it. It looks old and vintage. Just, I love it. So now I've just got a bath sponge that I've torn into pieces. I like to use it when I'm doing different techniques with paints. And I really like this. You just, when you dip in, be sure you offload some and then just kind of twist that in your hand back and forth to change the pattern if it's something that is very obvious. Like if I was putting a very dark color, there's no way I would want to pounce it in the same pattern, because then you would see that there was a pattern, and that's not how aging works, right? So now I'm going to go back over it, and if you get too much of a color on there for what you wanted, you know, maybe you make a boo-boo and it's not exactly what you're looking for, go back over it with some gray. Easy. All right, now we got some skeleton arms from Dollar Tree. I'm playing around to see, because I know I want these hands to be together in some way, and they will clasp. You know, you can put them together like this. It's pretty nice there. I know that I want to do this on that frame somehow, so I'm just thinking about it. Okay, I'm going to take this satin paint here. This is heirloom white. I absolutely love this color. And I'm going to spray paint those bones. They're going to dry thoroughly. That's only one coat the front, one coat the back. Then I'm going to take this spray and I'm going to start spritzing this on here. This is going to give, again, that aged look that I like, and it's going to give it a more of a realistic look. Now, I could speed right through all of this because some people don't want to be bothered watching the process. They just want to see how it ends. But for those of you who watch my channel who do these things on your own, because maybe you can't find the type of decor that you really enjoy, so you want to do your own, then you need to see exactly how to do it, right? And I don't want to rush you through it and feel like you're overwhelmed and you can't do it, because you absolutely can do this, okay? So there'll be very little increase in speed here. I want you to be able to see what we're doing. So I'm going to spray that on. I'm going to pat it off. Do not rub, because it will make the entire bone gray, and that's not the idea. You want to let it dry in between layers. Yes, this process does take a little time, but you can put it in front of a fan, or if you don't have a lot of humidity, put it in the direct sun outside and help these things to dry. So once I have enough of the spotting on there to my taste, I'm going to start building my layers of antiquing wax. The areas that would normally catch grunginess and dust and dirt are going to be where all those small bones are. So I'm going to go in there and just darken those areas. I know that I want those low spots to hold some color. So I'm just going to tap this on. If you prefer using a chalk paint for your projects, you can do that too, but beware that when you start fooling around with putting any moisture on chalk paint, it will start to flake off or lift. So just, keep that in mind. That's why I prefer spray paint for this. Okay, so now it's just, again, I'm going in all the spaces, all of the little dark spaces. I'm making them even darker, and I'm just going to build up slowly. You can see already how it's beginning to look a little more aged. I'll do some wiping with my sponge on top of here. And if you don't have the antiquing wax, remember there is a recipe. I wouldn't even say it's a recipe. I just tell you how you can use coffee to stain things while you're crafting coffee or tea. So, I mean, you can definitely do it that way if you prefer. But I've had this bottle of antiquing wax forever, and I'm still using it all the time, and there's a lot left in there. So you let these layers dry in between, otherwise you're just smearing around the same paint, and that's just kind of a waste of your time and your product. So just continue along. I'm going back over where the joints are and where those little bones are, and in between the fingers, because I want to show some shadow. I don't want everything to be comical in this. This is not like a funny Halloween. This is more of a living a spooky life situation here. Or if you do prefer the dark and moody, something like this would be perfect. And in fact, all the little projects that I do in this video today are going to be appropriate all year long, but you can definitely use these at Halloween if you like. So now I've gotten my sponge, and I'm going to start just stippling that on. I'm just pretty much just popping it on here and there, twisting the brush, or the sponge rather, with that antiquing wax, and then pouncing it up and down. I don't want to rub off anything that I've already put on there. I'm going around the edges of the bone, and I'm also going to go making sure I go in between the fingers. Now the back side of the hand and bone you don't necessarily have to do, because you won't see that, but definitely the sides. This is not a difficult process, right? It may take a little bit longer to achieve, but you can always work on different projects in between while your items are drying. That's what I always try to do. And then when I get ready to edit, I just splice everything together in a way that would make sense to somebody who's watching it. So if you do want to show this entire bone, or you're not exactly sure how you're going to lay it down, go ahead and extend that over just a little bit. Too much glue, too much wax on the fingers will make it where you can't glue it down to your surface, and I'm going to need to secure it in some way, but you can use mounting tape for that. So, there's a way to get around everything. But look at the bones now compared to how they were when we first started. This is definitely a big difference. Now, once they're completely dry, I'm going to take them over to my frame. Now, if these bones were more narrow, I could tuck them right inside the frame in that little gap that I was talking about. I could do them like this and put them together, or I can cross them over one another, and that's what I decided to do. And I'm using mounting tape. So I'm going to use a little bit of that mounting tape right behind where the bone begins to get narrow. And I'm going to press it down onto that beaded area. and then I'll go to the other side. And what makes it convenient is the shape of the frame has little pieces on it that are symmetrical on both sides, so I can count down those and know exactly where to put the other bone so that they're even. This mounting tape is really nice. You can definitely get it something similar to it. Alien tape, I believe somebody told me is what it's called, and you can get it at Walmart. So I'm just going to go in with my glue and put it together. I don't want the glue to necessarily be showing, so if you do get any glue on the outside, try to get it off there really quickly so you don't tear your paper. And I'm just going to flood a little bit of glue between the joints of the fingers so that it catches the other hand and it can dry. But you can certainly use your mounting tape here if you want to as well. Now I want to put a very beautiful romantic arrangement on the inside. So I have, when I was thrifting recently, I found two beautiful roses. This big purple rose, and then there is a rose bud as well. I am going to just poke these right into the framework of those clasp hands. I'm not going to be too concerned about, putting foam or anything in there. We're just going to glue it in. I don't want this to be a big, busy arrangement. I want this to be something that is pretty simple, but still elegant, beautiful. These dahlias are from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut these off. And then all I'm doing right now, I'm not using glue. I'm just pushing these around on the frame to see how I want to arrange it. I've got some of those black leaves out of there. I'm going to use those too. Later on, I do add some purple leaves. You'll see that in the end screen. And you'll use the same process with gluing it down, So this is why we don't glue them first. I'm going to move things around a little bit and decide how I like them, and then I can add my glue. I think it looks much better like that. So maybe the lady of the house is a bride. Maybe she's in love. Maybe she loves gardening. Who knows? But she's represented right here. And that beautiful, beautiful Dollar Tree paper is what inspired this entire look. Yes, just a roll of paper. But I knew it had to be prettied up and used in a project for you all who love your everyday spooky decor. Now again, I'm going between those fingers and I'm just kind of flooding a little bit of glue on all the flower stems that are down in there. And then I just individually glue down the black ones there, the black leaves. I've got some gorgeous, this is like a velour or velvet ribbon that came from Hobby Lobby, and I got it for 50% off, I think. It's beautiful ribbon, and I knew that I wanted to use this. It's in the Christmas section, but I knew I had to have it for spooky decor. So I'm just going to do a very simple bow, and I'm going to cut this off. If you don't want a bow for your little bouquet, you do not have to have a bow. But I really wanted to add this fabric. It just gives another little bit of texture and interest to the project, and it's all about, making it your own. And so I did add in this little ribbon. You could also put something in the middle of the ribbon. If you wanted to put a spider or rhinestone of some sort in the middle, that would be pretty too. I think I am very happy with this, and I think it is the look that I was hoping for. Everything looks good together. You could always brush a little bronze over your leaves if you want to, but I don't have to have everything matchy-matchy. I found this at the Goodwill's bins. I cannot believe that this was going to be just passed over by everybody. When I saw it, I thought, ooh, yes, that's going in my bedroom. I'm going to clean it up and give it a makeover. So I've got some wipes, and I'm going to decide whether I want to use this rich espresso again, or if I want to attempt to change it up a little and use a little bit of Martha Stewart's paint in a bronze color. The bronze to me is just pulling a little too copper. I don't mind copper, but I want all these pieces to be something that can be used together and all look nice together. So I am going to kind of do it my way. Definitely do it your way. And if you're going for more silvers, instead of using the bronze or the espresso that you see me using, just switch it up for the paint that you choose. All right, so I'm gonna just use the top of this to decide which paint I like best. And you remember what I said about being a messy crafter? Well, yes, I'm finger painting in it. I think I like the darker one. I just like it. It's richer looking, and I don't want this to be brassy at all. So this color is gonna be perfect for me. I'm grabbing a chippy brush here. You can use the same one you used on the other one. I didn't even have to paint this. It was already gorgeous after it was wiped off. So I'm just going to just touch this up. I'm going to add this all over. Again, I like to start off lightly, and then I just kind of look at it and decide whether or not I want to add on. It's just, for me, easier to add to it than take it off. Either way, you know, if you make a mistake, you can definitely fix it. So I am trying to make sure that when I dip in that paint, I don't leave any like puddles on the brush. I don't want any heavy amount on there. So that's why I tap it all off. I try to tap it off so that it leaves the same amount in the brush all the way across. And then I use a couple of different ways that I move the brush. You saw me do big brush strokes, kind of slow, and then as I'm adding on more, I'll move the brush side to side quickly, and that gives it a little bit better of a coverage, but also keeping it muted, which is what I like. I hope that made sense to you when I said it that way. I hope that made sense. But the finish is just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I can't bring myself to do the brasses and the golds just yet in my crafting journey, but most definitely the bronzy colors and the coppers, that's where my heart is. I love warm earthy tones, and this is just, oh, this is beautiful. This is so beautiful. And of course, it's going to need an equally as beautiful candle to go on top, right? We don't want to let this frame down by putting something on there that does not serve it well. So this is a 2-pack of candles that are battery operated, UAAs. Get your batteries wherever you want. These came from Target Dollar Spot. I assume they had a $5 sticker on them. And I got them at either Goodwill or Dirt Cheap, I can't remember. Now I'm going to take that spray, that same alcohol spray, and I'm spraying it on this waxy finished candle, and it sticks on there just fine. It really does. And as far as the spray, where I got it from, I found it in some scrapbooking stuff at Goodwill. So I don't even know where it comes from. So this is what it will look like. If you guys have been with me a while, you know we used this owl in a red and black arrangement last year. I'm going to use him again. Now, he was originally spray painted, but I'm going to go over him now with some black chalk paint, and I'm going to matte it down some more. I'm going to give it more depth by making it darker, because I didn't spray it all the way through. This is originally was a white owl, and I do not know where it came from, but just substitute whatever you have that you want to use. You can use an owl, a bat, a crow, a raven, anything that says dark cottagecore to you. If that's, you know, what you're going for, then go ahead and use that. And maybe a little more on the goth side. I'm going to make sure that he's thoroughly dried all over. And then I'm going to address his eyes. Put on my spectacles to address my eyes. Y'all remember last year when I did him, I didn't do anything to his eyes. I left him completely black. Well, so many people made suggestions on how to make these eyes just pop and look gorgeous. And I decided that today I would give him some beautiful glowing eyes. So here he is, and I'm putting on that rich espresso right into his eyes with a little brush, and I'm just kind of chasing that shape out with that small brush. See, I'm taking my time. I'm not speeding this up. So you can see, it takes me a while too. And then trying to maintain that shape inside this other eye. And then you can always clean it up if you make a mess. Just take your time. If you have a paint pen and that's easier for you to use on this type of detail work, just use those. And then I just use my finger if I get a little too much and just tap it off. Looks fine. You can always go back over it with a little black chalk paint once it is completely dry, or black permanent marker. Right, we're going to give it a minute or two for those beautiful eyes to dry, and then I am going to start making him look beautifully aged. Now you can see, look at that, look how much. I didn't get enough paint off of there because I'm working on a tiny little surface and I didn't pat the paint out right. But you don't have to worry, because there's a way to fix it, and I will show you how to fix it shortly. Alright, again, adding on, brushing off, adding on, brushing off. And you can see that on his, there, I think it's on his chest maybe, there's a spot that is just too dark. I'm going to fix it with some black paint. See there on his chest, and then on his head. You can leave it like that. You know, if you want to leave it that way, you can certainly leave it that way, but I want to tone it down just a bit because I'm trying to give it like the hint of it without just being crazy with it. So I'm trying to brush it out just a little bit, and if you can't brush it out enough, go ahead and grab a little bit of your black chalk paint on a smaller brush, tap it off, and then just kind of use it to blend it in. Like you blend your makeup on your jawline, just blend it in. And then if you get done with the process and you think, I hate this, let it dry and paint completely over it. Not a problem. I just knew he had to be part of this family. I knew he needed a makeover, and he needed to be with this set of Dollar Tree paper items that we put together. Had to be. Absolutely had to be. He fits in perfectly with the set. Alright, so here's the other candle, the shorter one of the two. This is a jar lid, which I painted with black chalk paint. Here is a candle sleeve or a hurricane, and then a thrifted glass candle holder. I also have a little bit of that paper from Dollar Tree. I'm going to first use some Goo Gone or alcohol or acetone, whatever you want to use, to get off the writing on the bottom, and then you're going to wash it with soap and water and thoroughly dry it. The back of this paper has lines on it and a grid on it, which makes it perfect for you to do these types of crafts. They're really going to help you out with that paper. So I'm just going to kind of measure by laying it down. I'll cut off an even amount to wrap all the way around the back of the candle. And then right along the edge of the paper, there is like a print line. I'm going to cut that off too. I did consider that when I was measuring the length to put it on the candle. So I'll just trim that all off. And then here's our piece of paper. Get your design the way you like it. I'm going to take my little hurricane here, roll it. If I have a little overlap, that's great. That's what I'm going for. You don't want a lot, so trim it down where it just goes over, maybe 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch over. I'll use my double stick tape that I happen to get from Dollar Tree. Press it down on the glass. This way we're not waiting on Mod Podge to dry. We're not worrying about wrinkles. This is the perfect way to do this, and then if you want to change it later, you can change it out easily. I'm carefully pressing that down into half of where the tape is, leaving the other half of the tape exposed to stick this page on. Now I had it a little bit crooked, so I had to adjust just a little. And that's okay. I had a little tear on the back side, but it didn't tear through, thank goodness. And I'm just going to press that down. And trim off if you have a little extra tape, you know, hanging over, you can trim it off. Then you can grab the sanding block and get it right close to the edge, just like you would any other project. Just like it was if it was a piece of wood. Just be sure you hold on to it good so you don't drop and break it. I'm going to do this all over the top. And then I'm going to go along and do this on the bottom as well. I don't want anything hanging over because I want this to be rich and elegant looking. Look how pretty. Oh, this paper is beautiful. So here's our clean candle. I'm going to use this as the top. And this, like I said, is just a jar lid. We want this to appear to be one piece. So we're going to stick it together. All of my E6000 glue was clumped up and dried. If you have tips on how to keep that stuff from doing that, please tell me, because I have so many tubes I had to throw away because I can't use them anymore. So I grabbed this super glue from Dollar Tree, questioning whether or not it was actually going to hold these two together, but I gave it some time. This is a little multi-pack you can get at Dollar Tree, and would you look at that? It won't even wobble. Perfect. So I'm going to grab that chalk paint. This is just a rich black, and I'm going to tap it off, and I'll use this little pouncer to go all the way around my edge. I'm just rubbing this on. If you have makeup, the little makeup sponges, you could use those also. Use the flat edge. I'm just going around the edge of the white, the edge of the glass, so that it looks like one piece. And then you can pick your little hurricane shade up, and you can extend it a little bit down the sides just to continue that aged look that we're going for. Okay, so I got the top. Now I'm going to kind of smear it on the side a little bit, make it look old. It makes that print stand out with that rich black next to it. And we're going to do the bottom too. See how that just really finishes it off? I love that. I love that edged look like that. So we're going to let it dry just like that. And then the process that we used on the inside of the frame, we're going to use the same process here and make this beautiful and rich looking as if it has been in an old home on the walls forever. My niece does Sims games, and she did a build that recently had some black wallpaper in it that was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I don't want my room to be that dark. I want it to be a little more foresty looking, you know. But yeah, I sure appreciate the look of it. Those stunning. Right. Once you get the look you want, I'm just going to go ahead and spray this on now after I've done the paint. You can do it either way. You're not going to hurt yourself either way. And I'm just spraying it on top of a towel that's just a rag I use here in my studio. If you have any runny spots, just tap them off. If it runs on your page, that's totally fine. It's part of the aging process, right? So look how nice this looks together. It looks as though it was made as one piece. And I love that it now looks this black color, which really brought it together. And now we're going to add that espresso. Again, I'm starting off slow, so I'm going to start on the bottom in that rim right there on the edge and just flick that back and forth. I'm not looking for a solid painted line. It's just, again, brush strokes. And I guess there is sort of a pattern to it, but I'm not trying to get like an even amount. We want it to look like it aged this way. I'm going to go back and forth on the rounded parts just to keep that rounded look. It just makes sense that it would wear in that way when it is wiped and cleaned. Then I'm going to go around all the beautiful curves. Y'all, I ordered lamps, new lamps for my room, and they have the amber, like a teardrop in the inside of the the standing part of the lamp that makes a night light. So you can turn the light on and off, and you can also use the amber night light. Oh, that's going to be perfect for fall when I am watching movies in here in my room by my potbelly stove. Can't wait. Okay, so I've built it up about this much, and what I do is turn it back and forth, and I add more on in the spaces where I feel like it needs more, and it shows me if I've left anything off. Go ahead and address that and cover that. So that's what I'm doing here until I get the coverage that I like, and then of course you are going to let it dry after you do that. I don't need necessarily, with the process that I'm using, to color the top of it. It just didn't feel right to me not to do it. So I went ahead and worked on that top too. And I'm trying to kind of keep it circular. Now, if the sleeve that you have doesn't fit perfectly over the top, mine fits like perfect. There's no extra lip, nothing. I am going to secure that down with some hot glue, and I do it in 4 different places. I let that dry thoroughly. I mean, you really, really need to let the glue dry. If you use the candle top that is bigger, a little bit bigger than your sleeve, you'll be better off, I think. But look at it with the candle on the inside, and we didn't have to do anything special to the actual candle insert because we have this beautiful frame. Okay, y'all, look at the beautifulness. They all look so good together. I really like these projects. Also, if you really enjoy this video, consider sending it to somebody and sharing it with them who might also enjoy this type of content. We want more people who are desiring these items and these DIYs to be able to see them. So if you know somebody who enjoys them, there seems to be kind of a missing, I don't know, like a missing area where people are not finding what they want and what they ideally would like to have in their home. I want to be able to show it to them. At least give them some options, right? That's what we want to do. We all want to find some joy in our home, and although it looks different to different people, you know, what brings you joy is not going to be maybe what brings the next person joy, but that is okay. All right, so I'm going to start off with this little tray or cabinet that I found at Goodwill. I have a variety of stickers, so what you're going to see is just some options you could use. So I've got some stickers, and these are the ones that are kind of 3D, and they look kind of old. And I've got some wood butterflies. I've got a variety of stickers and stamps from TEMU, depending on what kind of theme you're going for. I've got a little lighted lantern from Dollar Tree. Got a frame, some little pumpkins, a raven, a squirrel, a variety of these mesh ribbons from Dollar Tree, and these are from TEMU. I'm going to take a look at these. Very cute. These just came in. I just got them. This is not a sponsored video, but I have found I'm getting some very unique craft pieces from TEMU, so that's why I share those with you. And the prices are good, but you know, you can decide on your own where you want to spend your money. Very cute. These are so nice. I knew I had to have them. When I saw it, I just knew I had to have them for our vintage Halloween. Okay? Then you can use a variety of little plastic insects. Got some little, these are actually cupcake toppers. Charms from a bracelet. Little trees, little branches. Some things from Dollar Tree, stars and bones. They're just foam. These little picks from Dollar Tree. A candy corn looking tree from Dollar Tree. And then from Dollar Tree Plus, I have 2 boxes of these little pieces, and we're going to be using a couple from each box. They're very nice and definitely worth the $5 because you get at least 5, sometimes 6 in a box, so it's definitely worth your money. And they're bigger than the little fairy figurines that you can find in the garden section. Okay, so here is our box, and we're going to try to find things that will fit in the spaces. For now, I'm going to turn the box sideways, and we're going to just kind of play around with placement. Don't become overwhelmed. Just, you know, see what you like and see what fits in the different little spots. And we'll give each of the little things that we like a little home. The tree is too big to go in the larger place, and the bigger slots there, but these trees can be cut down. They're just on a wire, a twisted wire, so you can cut this down. I'm going to cut the tip off of the tree, and I'll be trimming up the bottom too. You can see here, I'm going to work on the bottom a little bit. Sometimes I get nervous about cutting into pieces, but then I just have to remind myself, you know, I paid $1.25 for it. If I mess it up, I have another one. Not a big deal. Okay. Now I've got it where it will fit. And it'll just fluff right out like it, you know, it did before if you just kind of play around with the fibers. Be sure you dump your fibers out of there. This looks like spider web. So for this project, I'm going to use it for that. I've just doubled it over, and yeah, that's going to fit in there. I like that as a background. You can use construction paper, or you can use any kind of crafting paper or wallpaper in the back if you want to do that. But because of the depth and because I want to have some dimension in here, you're not really going to see what's in the far back. If you get up close and look, you can, but some of these you're not really going to be able to see. But I'm still going to show them to you so you have an idea of what you can use. Think of all those bits and pieces you have from Halloween crafting gone by that are just maybe in your bowl of scraps, or you didn't know what to do with the pieces, but for some reason you can't part with them. This is a great opportunity to use all those little extra pieces. I did not have to buy not one single thing new for this project. I had all of these. I bought these thinking I was going to make a little village with them, but I thought they fit perfectly in this box, so I'm just going to use them in the box. All right, so I want to get that white tone down a little bit. So, for my choice, I'm just going to use some antiquing wax over all of the whites that I might be using in here. I am going to place this forward and hold it in place until the glue is set. This one it'll extend slightly outside of the box, but for the most part it fits in there. And I've just added some glue to hold that in place too. See that? I'm taking this little sculpture of the hear no, speak no, see no, and I'm going to put him in here. He is a little too small for the big spots, and he's definitely too big for the smaller places. So what I'm going to do is just cut it down. This is a thin wood, like a veneer or, something really thin. And I'm just going to use my clippers to snap the sides, and then my bullnose pliers to rock back and forth and cut off the inner part. And I'm going to go do this in little sections, in 3 different sections, all the way to the back of the box. So now we have one long narrow spot. I don't want splinters, so I'm going to take my little emery board and just sand it down on both sides. Makes it look nice too. And you won't be able to see where we cut the divider out. If that's a concern, just grab some antiquing wax and go over the lighter spots. Now I want him to go here, but I want it to look more like sort of like a topiary, I guess. So I'm going to have to give it some more height by standing it up. This is just a scrap piece that I have. You can use blocks from Dollar Tree or whatever you have that you can stack this on top of, and just put it right on top. Now, an idea, if you don't have one of these boxes, if you look at those toys, Melissa and Doug toys, a lot of times they have divisions in their boxes, puzzle boxes and things like that. So consider picking something like that at the craft store. You won't have as many slots in it, but you can make it work for sure. For this little lighted feature, I am going to use Velcro dots. I use 2 in the back to begin with, and then I do add 2 to the front later on, which you do not see. To get them in the right spots, I'm going to add the soft side down to the lantern, and then the prickly side is going to be what's touching the box. So when I put it in here, I've put them together so they line up, and I'm going to just squish them down and hold them in place until I feel like it's had enough time to kind of grab. Then you can just take it out, turn it on, turn it off. Yay! Happy dance. Happy dance. Love it when things come together. Okay, so we can turn this back off, save our battery. Okay, now we're going to keep going, and I'm again doing the same thing. If it's something that I know I'm going to leave in that spot, I'll leave it there. If not, then I'll just kind of move it around till I get it like I like it. Now on this one, I am also going to be using a mahogany, I think it's the mahogany, no, it's the walnut furniture repair marker. And I'm going to use that to just kind of trace out and give it a little more detail so it doesn't disappear when we get it in the box. You can put that on, and then quickly, you can kind of blend it out a little bit with your baby white. Okay, so this is a bracelet. I have 2 of these. I bought one to craft, one to wear. I'm going to bend this out. It's metal, but it's kind of soft and flexible. So I'm just going to bend it out straight, and I'll show you what to do with that in a moment. We're going to skip around a little bit, so bear with me. Now this one also, I've got it toward the front of the box. This is going to make some shadows behind it, plus it's going to bring it close enough to the front that the light will hit it and you can actually see what's in there instead of losing it in the back. If you choose to use something like these puffy stickers, you can put them in, and I just put mine all the way against the back wall. Now the benefit of these, as opposed to something that is flat with no color, is that there's enough dimension in it for the light to reflect off of it. So, Okay, so now I've got some of these that look like books. I found these recently. I really like them. I'm going to put these in here to make it look like maybe there's some books on the shelf. And here's another one. You can trim them down. if you want to trim them down, but I'm just going to use the 2 books here. I like that. You can also use hot glue if you want to make sure that everything stays in place once you get it exactly where you want to keep it. I'm going to add a little spider to the top just to kind of embellishment. There's this like sands through the hourglass. Do y'all know what that's from? It's been around a long time. Okay, so I'm just going to add my little sticker in there. Then I'm going to color my other white pieces like I said before. Let it dry. I'm going to grab these are just some jewelry pliers, but I pick up any kind of tool I find that I think I can use crafting, and I repurpose it for something else. So I'm going to bend the bottom so it almost has like a leg or a little stand to hold it. I prop the box up for this because I don't want the glue to drip to the back. I want this to sit right down in the glue, and I have it bent so that it's a tight squeeze and it'll hold itself in place. For this little broom piece, I'm just going to take the colored stick off. You can paint yours if you would like. And I'm going to go over this with a little antiquing wax. This is just a dowel rod that I cut down. I want it to look more like a natural stick. A little hot glue and stick it right back in there. Rather than having the cartoony colors here, I'm going to wrap this with a little bit of burlap. And then I will also be coloring the black part of this later. I'm just going to embellish it somewhat. So stay tuned so you can see for sure what we do. Then you can just glue and trim that off. Okay, so I wasn't certain about where I wanted the hourglass. So now that I know, I'm going to add my glue and then I'm going to put it in there. You can add moss if you want to the bottom of these, if you would like to do that. But y'all, I'm planning on doing another one of these in more of a sort of a gothic, dark academia, dark cottagecore look. So be sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss that because, and by the way, I am going to be changing my room up from the cottage, like a light cottagecore. It's real neutral in here. I'm going to be changing it to dark cottagecore. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know and I will try to share some of that with y'all. Okay, so this is just a little bit of that sand colored paint, and I'm just kind of brushing it over a little bit. I love to just keep blending out and adding colors and layers like it's old, you know, like it's old and it's been loved before and we're loving it again. So I'm going to take that spider web track there and add a bunch of spiders to it. I have this little pot and it came in a bag. I think this was from St. Patrick's Day at Dollar Tree. But I'm going to take this pot and I'm going to color this with chalk paint because it's a real shiny color and I want it to look like it's old. So we'll start off with the black paint and let that dry thoroughly. While that's drying, I'm going to make a bunch of balloons for one of our little ghosts. Now, to make it easier to stick to the back of the ghost, I'm going to use a pipe cleaner to wind these together. And then that's easier to stick down. It kind of grabs the glue and will hold it in place on the back. He is going to be a little bit forward in the box. There's going to be spaces behind him, but the dimension I love. Okay, so he's glued in place. He's not going anywhere. You can also add a little glue to the back of his little balloon there. I'm going to add in some rub-ons in case this is something that you might have and that you might like to use. These are from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to burnish it down. It's a window. It's really nice. And then I'm going to take another one, and this is like a rose with something on it from the same sheet. I'm going to put it down. And I know we have talked before on this channel about happy accidents. Well, we have a happy accident. Or I'm not going to blame y'all for it. I have a happy accident. You can see here that it's pulled off. I knew that it was going to happen when it happened, but I'm going to show you how to make that look like you did it on purpose. So I'm going to take some rich espresso and I'm going to go over this pot and I'm going to make it look like maybe it was a bronze or brass pot that is just burnt because it's been on the spit forever, you know. I'm going to color it and I'm only going to go over the one side that's going to be exposed, go under the lip, over the lip, and dots, pounce it all over until you are comfortable with the amount of coverage that you get, and be sure that you do the handle of that as well. Set it aside and let that dry. Then I'm going to move on to another section. Y'all, when my mind starts going, Oh my goodness. I hope y'all can follow me. Just jump around with me for a little bit, okay? Let's just pretend like we're all in Brandy's head right now, okay? Beware though. Be very aware. Gets nuts in there sometimes. Okay, a little bit of hot glue on the top, a little bit of hot glue on the bottom. I'm just explaining what I'm doing since I didn't think it pertinent to show you what I was doing. And then I'm going to go over and just kind of tap on that same, whatever's left in the brush. I'm going to tap that on to the picture. I'm also going to put it on the lantern. Then I'm going to put it on the wood pieces I have in there. I'm also going to put a little bit on my tree trunk, you know, just wherever. Okay, so now that the pot is dry, I'm going to take some of this meshy ribbon, I'm going to kind of ball it up, put it in the pot, and then I have these two bones. I've had these forever. I did them last year, and I probably thrifted them because I find little odds and end pieces of stuff that are not in bags when I go to the bins, so I just pick it up. But you can use those foam Dollar Tree bones if you want to, and you can antique those a little bit with the antiquing wax. I'm going to add some hot glue, and that is some smoking hot glue. Put that pot in there with the pretty side facing forward. Ooh, I love it. She looks like she's over the pot. Then I'm going to take another little picture that I like, and this one has a skeleton on it. I'm going to add him in here. These pictures came from a package that I think I ordered from Amazon. If I can find that link, I'll grab it and I'll put it in the description box for you because yeah, I love them. It's several different prints in I think 4 different sizes. So okay, so for more dimension and support, I'm going to take another block here and I'm going to paint it black. I'm going to put this little black ghost, and this is just top of a coffee stirrer. I mean, I'm telling you, you're just going to go nuts here. You just do whatever. I'm going to put it down in the box with that broken stencil, and I also put a sticker in there beside it. And then to cover up that shiny, I'm just going to cover it with the black paint that's left in the brush. I'm going to go back over and add a little more black paint here and there just to make sure that everything is blended and everything looks consistent throughout the project. Now, I love this raven. Absolutely love it, and y'all know I love my ravens. Put your spectacles on, and then I'm going to trim off all of this white. I want to make a picture with this, and I don't want that white in the background. Needs to be trimmed up a little bit more. Just don't want to cut my words off. And then it's going to fit here. I'm going to take my paint. I'm just using what's in that brush. I'm just going to push it down and just kind of make it look messy and distressed and just ew. Give it a chance to dry. Then you're going to peel the backing off your sticker and just apply it somewhat toward the center. Now, the fact that we painted it black on the outside will give you a little bit of freedom if you can't get it lined up exactly, because you're not really going to notice. Now again, same thing, just to take a little shine out, I'm going to add a little bit of that black paint that's from the brush in there. I'm going to add some hot glue and put that right down in there. Hi, Mr. Ghost. Bye, Mr. Ghost. All right, so I'm going to add my raven up here. Look at that little splinter poking out, y'all. I do get it. I'm going to glue it down in there with that raven picture. I'm going to take some of these ornaments from Dollar Tree. These, of course, like I said, everything pretty much is from last year. I'm going to add some glue here, and I'm just going to make like a little, again, a little stacked thing. I'm going to take this frame that once was yellow, and we painted it with black. And I am going to, and I actually just spray painted it. I'm going to take that same espresso color and pounce it all over this frame to bring out the beautiful details, and inside that lip too. And then I'm going to use some double stick tape and stick it on the back of my picture. Then I am going to go inside of the backing and kind of blur that out with a little bit of that same espresso color, just so it blends in a little bit better. Put the backing back on, and then of course tear this off so it will lay flat. It's just a little kickstand on there. And you can also take that off with a screwdriver if you want. I'm going to take that same espresso and go over the lighter spots. It's really going to make that pop out. Then I'm going to add this frame right here. And it's on the outside. It doesn't go all the way on the inside. I'm totally fine with that. I like it. I like all of the texture and dimension, and there's so much to look at. You want the idea to be that every little box is its own little world, and it just makes sense. You know, it just has something interesting in every spot, in every little room in this house, if you will. These are some remaining beads that I had left over from the sign that we did, the light up sign that we did. And then I'm going to take one of these plastic pumpkins and squish in the back so he'll be flat, and we can glue him right inside of there. Add your glue and pop him right in there. I'm going to take the charms off of that bracelet, and then I'm going to use them as ornaments on the tree. I used 3 of them as ornaments. Then I'm going to take the boo and put him right over here on the ghost. Do you see how we're mixing everything up here? We're mixing up our elements. We've got some resin, some paper, some metals. I'm going to take the tip of that tree, and it's going to be over here by our picture. I'm going to add some of these little bronze-looking butterflies that I found in my stash. And you can see the end of the black broom. I added some bronze to that, and it really looks like a different broom now. It's going to be just on the outside of the box, just kind of freestanding. I'm going to put a little glue on this little ghosty and put a butterfly on his hand. See, there's so much going on in here. This is so much fun. I love this, and I really hope that you try something like this because, oh my goodness, I had a blast. So I put the light bulb over there by the little skull topiary. I'm going to take that wooden butterfly off because to me it wasn't meshing. It didn't feel right. So I just removed it, but you can do whatever you like. I really wanted that metal in there. Put the Halloween sign right on the top. And I'm going to continue to add all over the place. Here's one of those cute ornaments. The little child has the pumpkin over its face. Here's the little witch girl. Put her up there by the witch stuff. And then this little witchy is going to go down here. Okay, I put some little stones from Dollar Tree in here. It's just a little rock. And I'm going to add some brown paint just on the inside of this bottle for the witch. And I'm going to add hot glue to this cork because I don't want that to leak out. I'm going to add another little butterfly here on the tombstone. It's just going to cover up that spider. I'll add the bottles in here and there where they make sense. And again, I'm not pushing everything to the back. Here's an idea. For the wool of bat, I cut up a pom-pom, and I'm going to stick that all on the inside. You won't see it that much, but like I said, if you're curious, and this is our cabinet of curiosities, and you get up close and look, you can see all those little details. So I'm going to just glue this one right in this spot. Look at everything we have going on in here so far. How fun! How fun! Okay, so here's another one of those pumpkins. I'm going to squish it in the back. I've had a bag of these pumpkins forever, and I think I've finally used them all. Maybe have 1 or 2 left, but they're so vintage looking to me and so cute. They fit nicely into these projects. Okay, I'm going to add him in there. And then look at this. This came off of a banner. But I've got so much mixed media in here. I love it. Then you see the little Halloween, the little girl over there. She's on a piece of foam board, and it just fits right inside out of the same pack. I'm going to go over it with that espresso, and then I'm going to paint that frame out with a little bit of that black chalk paint. I'm going to paint it out, and then I'm going to smear it with my finger a little bit to make it look old. And I'm decided to go in here and do the same thing. I'm going to take that white out by just covering it up with some black and a thin brush. Simple enough. All of this just helps give it a more of an aged look. Okay? Then whatever is left, I'm going to go back over. I'm just taking a broad look at everything that's going on in here, and I'm going to go over the stickers, the puffy stickers, everything with the same espresso. I'll add a spider down here, and of course we want to give him some highlights, so check out how he looks with that espresso on him. Nice. You could also use bronze. Now we have to have lights in this box, do we not? And rather than putting string lights in, I thought, how about little individual flickering candles? Yes. So you can cover up the flame of the candle here, the little plastic top, and spray paint it black. It would probably be better because I use chalk paint and it does chip off, but you know, you can always go back in and touch up. Let the candles set aside and dry. Then I'm going to go over with some of this black. This is like you use in gift bags or whatever, and I'm going to use it to just fill out some of those little hollows, just again for a little more interest. I'm going to add a bat. This is just one of those wall bats. It's just like a little plasticky piece. I'm going to elevate it on a black block, glue it down above the ghost, and then I'm going to tone it down a little bit with the black chalk paint. This is how this little beauty is going to look before we put lights in it, of course. Here are our lights, and I'm just going to add them here and there. I thought, how about putting one down in the pot where the witch is cooking? And that might give it a little extra something, a little extra spook. So I put it in the top and put the bones back in. I'm extremely pleased with the way this came out, and I hope that you are inspired from this. I hope that you look at this and you take the inspiration from it, and that you make something like this of your own. Now, I'm calling it a cabinet of curiosities, even though there are no doors or whatever, but you know, you get the idea. You could certainly use the little things that have doors and stuff like that on them. This is of your own. So this is a piece that I got from Goodwill. It's a little bit sad, so we're going to give it a makeover. I'm going to use a glue stick. You're going to use a piece of leather, and this one came from TEMU, but you can definitely get yours from Dollar Tree. We're going to choose pictures here. Again, this is from the same pack. It's just repeats of the same ones, pretty much in different sizes. Love these. I think we're going to use, maybe we'll use, yeah, we're going to use that one. I'm going to cut it out. And then I'm also going to cut it down where the there's no white trim at all on it. So I need to see how much of this we're going to use. What you're looking at here on the bottom is like a waxed paper backing, because this is a self stick, which makes it very convenient because you won't have to see the hot glue through your leather. You know what I mean? You know what I mean if you've had to glue leather onto anything. You'll get those little bumps and tracks underneath it, which is okay for a spooky book, I reckon. Now we're going to measure out how much we need to cover it. When I did this, I don't know what in the world I was thinking, but I ended up covering the top and both sides rather than leaving one side open to show the pages of the book. But no worries. Caught it and I fixed it. Okay? So I've trimmed it down. I'm going to sit it down on the sticky side, press it down, and then I'm going to put a little bit of tension as I roll it over so that it clings tightly to the book stack or the box, whatever you want to call it. It's actually a box that looks like 3 books. And I'll fold it all around, and then I'm going to push it down with my hands, and then you can burnish it with a wooden ruler if you don't have any type of a squeegee. You can really get a good grip on this though and make it nice and smooth and flat. Okay, so I'm going to go around and make sure I trim off anything that is extra on here because we don't need that. And you can see I covered up 2 sides, so yeah, I'll fix it, don't worry. Then I'm going to take an awl, and this just comes with like it came with a basket making toolkit. I have no idea what you would do with the basket, but it works really good as a leather tool in this predicament. Now I can see where the ridges are for the books, individual books, so I'm just going to push in there and kind of dig that little hole or that trench back out, dig that little track back out. And this is when I went, Okay, dummy, that's not gonna work. You can't see the pages. This is not a box, it's a book stack. So I just grab my sander and go back in, peel that off, cut it, made sure it was trimmed up nicely, and then I just took the wording off with a sander. And knock your dust off, get it nice and clean. Simple enough. You know, I make mistakes too, y'all. Don't get discouraged when you do stuff like that. You can fix it so easy. It's just crafting, right? It's just crafting. Now I'm going to use that same awl, and you can use a screwdriver for this if you want to, but I'm going to make scratches going side to side like you would have for paper. You can see all the little different lines. So I'm going to do this on both sides and on the side where you would see the pages of the books on the other side. This is important when you are adding paints to it or coloring or waxes to it, because it kind of shows highlights and it shows the low places, which gives dimension, and that's what you want for realistic, you know, more realistic looking projects. So I'm going to do a little heavier towards what binding would be, which is where the leather is, because I want it to, you know, see the dimension it gives there. I just like that. I just really, really like that. You can see it kind of fades or ombres out both sides. Yes. And then we're going to do that on here too. I'll use a, yeah, see, that's where I told you we're going to cut that off. I'm going to cut that off and put it aside. I'm going to grab some of that black paint and I'm going to like wipe almost all of it off. It's going to seem silly, but look how much is still left in the brush. See that? That's why we do it that way. I don't want to have too much in there. And this way, when I put it on, the part where I push the most, which is the corners, is going to be darker and it's going to fade out slightly toward the inside and the outside. And I like the look because it makes it look like it is aged. And that's the idea here. These are supposed to be vintage, aged, old-fashioned crafts. My representation of it anyway, my idea of it. I'm going to add it to the leather here. And you know, leather has texture. So where I wipe it off, the black is going to still cling down in the lower spots. I'm going to go back over it and do this several times until I get the coverage that I like. I'm going to try to keep that nice and flat so that the dark color stays in those little tracks there. You can see? You're just going to continue to build this up as you like it. And go all the way around and be sure that you're paying attention to all the sides. I'll take a very skinny pointed brush and go down the spaces in between each book. Yes, I just did air quotes, as if you could see that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to keep going here, and I'm going to go through these little tracks, like I said. You can go through and use your little wipe and make sure that if you have any that came off, that you just kind of wipe that out. You can use a damp cloth if you don't have a baby wipe. I just feel like this is so much easier for cleanup, and I'm not ruining any cloths this way. I can just toss it when I'm done. What is left on there, I'm going to put on the top, and then I'm going to dry it. And once it is dry, we're going to apply our glue stick. Yes, we are, because the glue stick is what we're going to use to attach down our little picture. And be sure you get all your little bubbles and stuff out. These I found at Dollar Tree too, and they're really nice pieces. They look old to me, and I think this is going to give us a bit more of that vintage look. So because I didn't put these on first, I still want it to look like it is behind it. So I can achieve that look, I think, if I just cut the little triangles out from the inside, and I'll just put them back down on the plastic because we're going to use those later in another part of this book. So save those. We're going to stretch our dollar here. I'm just going to lay these down, each of these corners down where I think is a good placement for them before I glue them down. Now what you're seeing is me just kind of trimming to make sure that I have a nice crisp corner. And I think, yeah, I do like the way that this looks. So we're gonna go with this. And I'll have one for each corner, of course. At the bottom it says Lucky Halloween. A Halloween spell, Lucky Halloween. Okay, so then I'm just going to add a little hot glue in the corner for each one of these pieces to hold them in place. Then we're going to work on the sides. If you choose, you can use rub-ons, you can use You can freehand, you can do what you want here. I'm not going to put labels on these books at all. I am just going to embellish these with some more of those beautiful pieces. I don't know why everybody assumes, so many people assume that witches are, I don't know, that maybe dark is a bad thing. It's dark is not a bad thing. You know, it's all about how you use your interpretation of things, I think. And I do not think that all witches are bad witches. No, I certainly do not. So this is just, I don't know, paying a little respect, I guess, for the people who have done good things in the past and then were accused of really bad things. It was a sad part of our history, folks. A very, very sad part of our history. Okay, now I've got all those on there. You can see how I used the corners. Didn't waste. We used the corners on there. And I'm just going to brush over this one with the antiquing wax once I have got them glued down, because I know that I'm happy with their placement. I'm going to go over all of these pieces too with it. Just going to kind of bring that shine down just a little bit and age it. And then I'll go over the picture and the entire book with a light layer of wax. And this gives me the perfect age look that I'm going for. I hope you like this one. So I've got some black blocks here, but if you don't have any of these, you can use these from Dollar Tree and paint them black. Just little dice. These are the 3 ornaments that I chose to use for this project. I have some little wood blocks and some black chalk paint. I'm going to use some of my double stick. Well, this is not double stick. This is painter's tape. And I'm going to roll it over and put it down on my mat here, my little silicone mat, and I'm going to press these down to hold them in place while I paint them. I always have paint all over myself. Y'all know that. Always. Always. Doesn't bother me though. I just wash it off. Once everything is dry, yeah, I do leave one side that is not painted to put downward. I'm going to push these about 1/4 of an inch back from the edge of the block. So 1/4 inch back for each one of these. So center and 1/4 inch. Got it? Now we can start placing these down. For 2 of these, we're going to leave it just like this. Stand them up there. Allow them to dry. Here's the other one with the little cutie pie on it. This is probably my favorite one. And then for the one with the cat, we're going to turn it backwards so that it is placed further in the back. And you'll see why in a moment. Okay, so we'll put that one in the middle. All right. Now, I am going to use some of these little Scrabble blocks. But you can use anything. You can use stickers. You can paint this on. You can use puff paint, whatever you want to use here. But I'm going to use these because I think they look good with this. And spell out boo. And I'm trying to just sort of get them in the center. If they're not perfect, you know I don't care. All right, now this is why you wanted to do that. Now when you put them together, we made it. Look what we're going to make. Okay, so this is just a little thrifted wood piece, but look at this globe light, y'all. It is color changing. I got this at Dollar Tree. Can you believe it? Yes, and it's Greenbrier. It is actually a Dollar Tree, and it's over there with the light bulbs and the night lights and stuff. So here it is. It's going to take, I think I had AA batteries in it, 2 AA batteries. I'm going to take some silver paint, and it's like a darker silver. I'm going to use 2 of these round tags or hanging decor pieces from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use some of this wire ribbon from Dollar Tree also. And of course, we always start by taking everything off. Take off your stickers, take off your hanging tags, and then give it a sanding if it's something that is wood. I just don't trust wood. I've seen pieces or used pieces before that look like they would be fine, and I ended up with splinters. I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to do that. I don't have as much collagen as I used to have, so let's not do that. So dust them off after you get done sanding them, and then you need to get that ribbon and you need to wrap around. And because it's metal, I'm just going to use my stapler. I'm going to leave it in a place where it's not so obvious, where I could get it maybe to the back, but we'll paint over it and you're not even going to see the little staple in there. Now it can still move around freely, but I don't want the gunk from glue. So I'm just going to slide it down where it's flat, sits flat on one side, and the little overhang only goes to the other side, if that makes sense to you. Now I'm going to measure how much I need for the base of this and cut it off. Now I was able to use my scissors for this. It wasn't hard to do. But you can use wire cutters if you only have like one pair of scissors. I have a bunch of scissors over there. Okay, so I'm going to use a little floral wire this time to show you how you can do it, because we can't use a stapler into the plastic base, right? We can't do that. So I'm just going to take a little piece of this. I'm going to thread it through the holes so that it catches on both ends of that wire ribbon or metal ribbon, and I'm going to twist it around so that it's going to be kind of like a bracelet or a band, so we can like slide it back on. Trim off the excess because we don't need that. Make sure you twist it to the outside so it doesn't take up any room on the inside and interfere with you sliding it back on. But you can see that it will slide back on and slide back off. So I'm going to grab these pieces, all of these, and I'm going to take them outside and spray paint those black. Once they're dry, I'll flip over the little wood pieces and I'll add a little bit of tape. Because of the little hanger holes there that I don't want to be as obvious, I'm going to fill those with hot glue. And then use a little bit of black paint once it's dried to just go right over that and cover up those holes. Okay, so this is now black. And we're going to slide it up over here. Now that just immediately gives it a richer look, right? Immediately. So we're going to choose which side we want to be the base. Then I'm going to just use hot glue. This is not going to be heavy. Hot glue on the bottom of the one that was wooden, that was spray painted. I'm going to place it down, and this is one layer of paint, y'all, one. Okay. Press it down. I'm going to try to get it as centered as possible. And then we will do the top. I'm going to add some hot glue here. And in order to try to get it where it is the best centered possible, I'm going to get above it and look downward at it to make sure it's in the center. And this is actually the bottom that we're looking at now, so you don't have to worry about the spattering of the color. I was down to the end of my spray paint in that can. Note to self, get more spray paint. Okay, so now look at the difference. But now I got to go back and paint the bottom. So I did. I took this little brush in that black and painted the bottom. And then I also go back in the areas where, because I didn't glue it because I didn't want residue everywhere, I went back over in any of the spots where it looked like it needed a little extra love, a little deepness, a little depth in that color. And then, of course, we're going to let it dry. This is going to go right on top. So I'm going to take some of that beautiful silver color, and this is like a, I don't have my glasses on, y'all, but I'm sure you could read it on the label. I'm going to take a chippy brush, go into that, tap a lot of it off, and then just kind of dry brush over this silver. This is something that I like to build up. And could I have just left it that silver color? Yeah, I could have, but it didn't have the age look that I was going for. And in order to make this piece look like it goes together, I felt like this technique really did it. This makes it look like it was bought as one piece, just like this. Of course, that's my opinion, but you know, again, I encourage you to do it your own. Make it your own. And if you don't like this, you don't have to do this. You can definitely also use the glass little candle holders. You can use those if you don't have a wooden one. But I get this kind of stuff all the time when I'm out thrifting, so I like to use them. Plus, you know, wood's a little bit easier to work with. It will adhere to other things a little bit better than glass, which has a tendency to kind of pop off. So, you know, just keep that in mind. And by all means, grab some super glue and use that if you need to use it. Now look at this. Isn't that pretty? That makes such a good base. And the best thing is, we don't have to staple this down or even glue it down. It can just sit on the top. And that's going to make it so much easier. So I'm just kind of going in circular motion around the top of it so that it will blend in with the light. See, we're going to do it too. I sweep a little bit over there. And this is all going to look like it belongs together, which I love. Not that we have to be matchy-matchy all the time, but you know what I mean. It feels good when something comes out the way you intended it to. But you see, you don't want to glue anything down with this because the control box is on the bottom, and yeah, we don't want to do that. So right where our staples are in the front, I am going to take a little spider and I am going to place it down. Just like it's the same type of little spider ring that came out of the same pack from the wreath that we did. So you just cut the little thing off and then you have a spider that you can use. And because his legs need to bend a little bit, I'm going to add just a little bit of heat, and then I'll take my fingers and push down on it. Just a little heat, and you got to keep it moving because they can burn. You don't want that to happen. But I want it to look like he's climbing down off of here. So I'll just hold it for a minute, which of course I edited out to keep you from being bored to death, so that it looks like he's climbing down, you see? Love it if you could subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy budget-friendly DIYs that are a little bit different and make you think outside the box. Also, I give you a lot of encouragement along the way. So I love having each and every single one of you here, and I love all of my comments. Practice that skill. Start finding things that bring you joy. Craft those things. Keep those things. Don't be concerned about what anybody else says to you about your projects. If you love it and you're keeping it for yourself, it is exactly as it should be. All right, so check out this. Oh, I had to put this in here so y'all could see how beautiful it is. Look at all the colors that change. And this was $1.25. This wasn't in the plus bonus section. Okay, so y'all, this piece I got from Goodwill. Another lady that I have befriended there found it. She was going to get it and take it home, but it really did need some TLC. And she asked me, did I want it? And I told her, yes, I would love to have it. So I've had it for a while, and it's very functional, but I don't like the look of it. I don't like that orangey looking finish, and the painting. I mean, somebody did a beautiful job on it, but it just really doesn't fit my home decor. So I want to make it look a little more rustic, a little more woodsy, cottagey, so that it will fit into my home. And that is so easy to do. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do. And by the way, did you watch that entire advertisement about the cruise getaway? I would love, love, love to meet you guys. You can come and visit and craft with me and hang out after we craft and ask questions. And we're going to have a blast. So time is limited. Run over there and get yourself straight. Get yourself ready to go with us and meet us. You see how this table folds? You can just take it around and just take it around your house. I hope I find a million more of these because they are beautiful and they're so nice to flip. So nice. After I have sanded with my sander outside, this is how it looks. There are some pieces on here you can see where I didn't get every single bit of that varnish or stain or whatever that orange looking finish was. I didn't get it all off, so we're going to work with that because I want it to look old and distressed on the legs anyway. And I think I do accomplish that. So be sure y'all stick around to the end of the video. When you see the final reveal, you can see what I have going on with this table and the changes that have been made. All right, all sanded. Now I've got it on my table. You can use a sticky cloth for this to get off all of your dust, or you can just use a dry towel or a damp towel. I like to use a slightly damp microfiber cloth to get all of the dust and shavings and paint particles and all that off there. We're going to start with a very nice clean surface because on the top we're going to be painting that, and I don't want anything to muddy up that paint. Now be sure when you're sanding and cleaning that you're getting the entire surface, the back, the outside, the edges, the inside, the underneath, the bottom of the feet. Do it all. Alright, so it's been wiped, it is dry, and now I'm going to use this wood tint. This is a very dark color. Very pretty, and it's going to be perfect for what I want. I'm using a sponge brush. We're not going to do anything with the top. We're going to do everything but the top. So with this, it is a very quick drying tint. It does what a stain does essentially, but it doesn't have the odor, and it dries very quickly. So I'm making sure that I paint all the surfaces. I'm trying to move quickly, wiping this on, and you need to use long streaks when you do it, because if you don't wipe it fast enough, you're going to have little white marks in there. I suppose you would if you used some type of a stain also, but I'm making sure I try to get it even. And then I'll just take a rag, a clean rag of course, or clean paper towels, and wipe off the excess. It's going to settle into the sanded areas. You can see on the edges there, it's going to be darker on the edges, around the nails. I think this is gorgeous. If you don't want the nail pieces showing, you could obviously cover that up with paint, or you can work your magic with some spackle or something like that. But I don't mind the hardware showing in this at all. You could also do like a faux rust finish on the nails if you wanted to, but I'm not worried about that. We're not going to get too complicated on this, right? Because the process of painting and staining may not take a lot of time, but the dry time is what really makes a difference. So be sure, like you can see here, I'm going to get all over the sides. I will open the table up and get down all of the legs. I'm not going to make you obviously watch that whole process, but just know that I do that. Every single bit of it. You can flip it up on the tabletop since we're not painting that, and you can do that. But you can see here the difference already in the color of the wood from that rich dark that I'm putting on there as to that orangey color that I had on there. And y'all, I'm almost out of foam brushes. I've got to order foam brushes. I've got to order sanders, chippy brushes. I got to get prepared, because y'all know Halloween and this last quarter of the year that is coming up after the 4th of July, I am going to be doing some crafting because it's my favorite time of year. Our subscriber giveaway is in November every year, so y'all be sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell, because you don't want to miss those giveaways. I mean, I really like to spoil people, so you will have a package full of all kinds of goodies. There may be thrift pieces, there may be new pieces that I bought, could be Dollar Tree, could be TEMU, could be Amazon, could be extras that I have that I throw in the box that I like, could be remnants of really pretty ribbon or things that are difficult to find. You see how rustic that looks? I absolutely love it. So now we're moving up to the top, and I have popped the top up, and I'm going to very roughly put on some sheepskin white. It's like a white, off-white color that I put on the top of here. I've dry brushed it on here, and now I'm going to go down each one of these cracks. This was with a little, I think this is like a 3-pack or a 4-pack maybe of tools that you can get from Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to take my little sanding block here, and I'm going to sand it a little bit too, just to make the surface smooth in case we have any raised areas. We don't want that. We want to be nice and smooth for this beautiful, beautiful wall decal. Y'all, this is a wall decal. I got it from TEMU. Again, not sponsored, but I got it from TEMU, and I am loving using these. So beautiful. Look at this. I absolutely love everything on here. Everything. Every bit of it. Even the process of peeling this off the backing was beautimous. My table was nice and clean and painted and dust free, and I am going to put down my decal. Now just take your time, be slow when you do this. You can pick it back up if you're very careful and slow, and put it back down. Look how nice this smooths down with my hand. What I like about this type of look is the potential for it to look aged and hand painted. It's absolutely beautiful to me, and in my head this turned out even better than I thought. It really did. I'm using my little squeegee or my scraper tool that came with my Mod Podge, and I'm going to go down and wipe, well, I say wipe, scrape at it It's not a hard thing. I don't want to cut into it like with anything metal. So I'm using this like a plastic type tool and going all over it. You can use an old credit card, your driver's license, whatever. I'm going to just snip off the overhang here. And then I will sand it down so it is nice and smooth to that edge. Y'all look, I need to do my roots. Okay, so I'm just using a little emery board here to get that sanded off, make it nice and smooth on the edge, because again, I want it to look as though it's hand painted. Now I'm going to take my razor and go right down here. You can use a box cutter, the side of your scissors, a utility blade, a rotary cutter, a kitchen knife if you don't have anything else, to go down. Once you put a decal on, go down on any material that has slats in it if you want to make it look hand painted, and cut through there and make it look as though it was actually painted on there, because we'll be able to open it, see that, and sand it on the inside too. Every place that we cut, you know, we want to trim it down so you don't see any snags. You want it to be nice and neat. All those little extra details, y'all, really make things look so much better and well thought out. All right, once that's done and the whole table is dry, I'm going to be using some outdoor Mod Podge, because I might want to put a plant on this. I might want to put a glass of tea on here, something that may sweat in the summertime. Well, you know it's going to sweat in Alabama. But I'm going to put this on here. This is thick. I wanted to show you the texture of it because it's not exactly the same as the regular Mod Podge. It is very thick. So I've just grabbed a sponge brush and I am putting it all over, not only the decal where it attaches to the table, but the entire tabletop, the edges, and then when I open the table, I also put it in between the opening there, right down the middle. I'm trying to get the same amount of thickness all the way through. I'm going to open the table so that it can dry. I'm going to use some chalkboard paint in black, some nickel satin finish nickel Rust-Oleum spray paint, a chippy brush, a silver ribbon, and one of them is blue, and I'm going to switch it to a velvet ribbon. And then this one is beautiful leaves. It's like leaves on a vine. Then this sparkly ribbon that is silver. 3 different sizes. Here's the millwork that I got at the thrift store. Beautiful piece, got a little damage, but that's not going to be a problem for this project. You know, these go underneath the light fixtures. So I'm going to take this outside and spray it after, of course, I have wiped it and got it nice and clean. Once it is covered with 2 coats of that nickel paint, look how beautiful this is. So pretty. I'm going to bring it inside and I'm going to start distressing this. The idea is to take this from looking like a resin or plastic piece, or possibly plaster if that's what they were going for, and to make this more of a metal looking piece. So I am going to do that by using my black. Now I've dipped it into the black and tapped most of it off, so this is an actual dry brushing technique. I'm not just like smearing it all over. This is actually how you dry brush. So I'm going to go back and forth and up and down over all the beautiful detailed pieces so that it will get that darker color down in all of those high spots and give us some shadowing and just really make this look more of a metal piece. I work with a little bit at a time, and then I build up as I go if I choose to do it that way. If you've been here a while, you already know I start off with a light hand and then I just layer that up until I get the look that I like. It's a lot harder to take it off once you put too much on. So I'm going to speed it up, but I don't want to take it out because I want you to see how much time it actually takes to do this if you do it correctly. It is sped up, like I said, but I'm just taking manageable small sections here and just working my way around. Now you can see the difference already. The lower right section is not distressed and the rest of it is, and you see the difference? Really takes that shine down a bit and makes this more of a metal looking piece or an iron looking piece, and I love the look of this. I am so glad. I have had this in my stash for a while and I'm trying to work through my thrifted pieces, and what better time than Christmas to do this. All right, so once I get the outside pretty much like I like it, I want to make this look even more kind of recessed. So I'm going in that inner curve there in that flat piece and then dragging that paint back upward over the edges, and it just makes it look like it is actually thicker than it is. Ugh, gorgeousness. I absolutely love this, and when I go back to the thrift store, it's been a few months, but when I go back, I'm definitely going to be picking up every one of these I see, because I could just see this for every season hanging on a door. Just beautiful. Or maybe even above a fireplace would be pretty. I don't know. Where would you put yours? This is a stunner, y'all. I love this. I love paint. I love it so much. All right, so I switched from the other ribbon that I had to this one because I thought the velvet would just be prettier, and I like the look of it for Victorian pieces. So I am going to layer up my ribbons rather than using 3 individual separate pieces. And I have done this before. We're going to make one beautifully embellished ribbon out of 3 different pieces. And this is how we will do it. The widest ribbon will be on the bottom, then our next ribbon, and then we will put down the last thinnest trim or ribbon piece, whatever you want to call that, with the leaves on it. It's beautiful. I did not measure this. I just kind of eyeballed it. It's probably 12, 14 inches. So now the pretty side of the ribbon is upward, and I'm just going to take a little stream of glue and go right down the middle of the thickest ribbon, so the bottom ribbon, and I will try to center this one on top, press it down, and then work in small sections, because if you get it crooked, you'll probably tear your ribbon when you try to pull them apart. So just take your time with this, and if you need to use a rubber spatula or something, use that. Or you definitely could be working with your cool temperature rather than the hot glue. And then I'll widen it up a little bit on the end so that the end stays nice and flat. And already look at the difference. That looks like a beautiful, beautiful, expensive ribbon. I want to make this look a little more aged. This silver is a bit too bright for me, so why not distress the ribbon, right? This is like a raised textured ribbon. It's not sparkly. Well, it is sparkly, but it doesn't have glitter on it, is what I'm saying. It's a strange woven texture. But I'm going to go over it just with the black, and I'm just going to use a smaller brush this time because I'm working in a smaller section and I don't want to get it on my blue. So I'm just tapping it in, kind of smearing it around on top of that ribbon. And you can see the difference from the top to the bottom as I work along here. Again, in small sections so that I can duplicate anything that I'm doing. So this looks like it was intended to be this way. I'll use lighter, and then I'll go a little bit darker as I go, building up just like we did on the millwork piece. Now I'm going to glue this one down, and since it's so thin on the vine, I'm just going to take some little sections of where the leaves are and just put a tiny dot of glue underneath, and I just adjust it as I go. The tip of this little glue gun is so narrow and so thin, it works great for these types of projects. And this Sure Bonder that I have gotten, this last one I've gotten, has been really good. I'm happy with this one. Okay, same process as before. Tapping in, tapping off, and I'm going to go over that silver a little bit as well. I don't mind if it's a little bit shinier than the one that is underneath it because it's on the top and I don't want it to blend completely in. I want to be able to see it. So now it's got that aged look that I really like. Not a perfect match, but that's not what I'm going for here. So now you can see there's about 12 inches in the front, 12 inches in the back. So I guess that's a 24-inch piece of ribbon. Okay, so this is just a curtain ring. I am going to unscrew the hook part of it, and we're going to use it for the top. I'll take some of this brushed silver, and then I'm just going to kind of give this a light brushing over this ring. I don't have a smaller brush, chippy brush, so I'm just using a regular brush here to do this. Get it all on there. I'm gonna get it on the front and the back and on the inside of the ring as well. And I just do one coat and then I will let that dry. Very easy to do. You can still see the black under, so it gives it that nice aged look that's on the millwork. Once it is dry, we are ready to use it. So I'm just going to fold the back piece over the top piece. Doesn't matter, you can do the top over the back, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to add a line of glue and then just overlap about an inch, maybe anywhere from a ½ inch to an inch on there. Press it down so it is glued down flat. And then once it's cooled, I'll turn it to the back so that you don't see where we connected it. And it's sitting behind the millwork and over that crack that was in there. Then I just decided, you know what, I've got this one little tiny piece of ribbon left. This came off of that roll from Dollar Tree, this blue velvet did. And I thought, okay, I'll just use this and we'll put one little bow right down here. Certainly skip this part if you don't like bows, but I think it gave it a little something extra, especially for the holidays. So, you know, Victorians did that anyway. They used every bit of what they had to make their homes beautiful. They used what they had. And they had a lot in those days, didn't they? They really did. This velvet is such a rich and beautiful look. I just love it with Victorian decor. And vintage decor in general. It's just very pretty. Very luxe looking. It's just such a simple little bow. We're not even going to have tails on it. And just flip those out because they are wired. They'll stay. Then I can trim off what we don't need. And then add a little hot glue to put this right here. And look at how beautiful this is. You can hang this off of a wreath hanger on your door. You can put it above your fireplace. You can hang it off of a doorknob if you wanted to. I mean, you know, if you just really wanted. Come and see my videos on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's free to subscribe. I'll see you in the comments. I've got a little wooden disc here and a beautiful little postcard with Santa. And then I found these thrifting. These are just some little doilies and they're very vintagey looking to me. Here's the information, just in case you have something simpler or similar. Not simpler, good grief. Although, speaking of simple, you could use white doilies for this if you wanted to, or if you had gold doilies that are solid color, or, you know, whatever you wanted to do. I just loved the idea of having these beautiful, rich colors in a butterfly, right? And I started off to do this just as a round, but y'all, something beautiful happened, right? Just like butterflies emerge from a cocoon. Watch how this thing turns out. I cannot even believe it. So I'm just going to fold these. You remember when we were in school and we were young and we folded these little fans all the times with our paper? All the time, because we didn't have air conditioning in our classrooms, did we? No. Kids today, they have it all. We didn't have that. We had windows and hot air blowing in, right? If you were lucky to sit by a window. If you were lucky. Okay, so I'm just pleating this. I'm folding it over on itself back and forth, trying to get my lines fairly the same size. Now, this is 2 doilies now. I've stacked these together. These are 2 together. I didn't move them. They came out of the pack like that, and I left them that way. This way, we'll get the same size when we open them up. Okay? Now, we can kind of open the little pleat here. You see how it looks? And we can pull those 2 layers apart. When you do it this way, you get exactly the same size and the same folds, so it is equal when you put these 2 together. I am going to use my hands to grab it in the middle, just like this. I'm going to clamp it until I can get my hole punch out. There's my little hole punch and a little bit of string. You can use any kind of string or cord you want. You won't really be able to see it. Now when I fold it in half, that gives me an idea of where center is, so I can poke a hole on here. And I actually did not get this exactly centered. This is another one of those things where I looked up and did something wrong that turned out right. So I'm going to feed this right through where I made the hole. And I'm going to tie this in a double knot. Don't tie too tight or you'll tear your paper. And we'll trim off what we don't need now. And by the way, you see the red on my fingers? I don't have sores or cuts on my fingers except for, you know, where you see when I have a Band-Aid on. That is actually red paint. That's spray paint. Later on in the video, you're going to see some things that I'm going to be spray painting. So that's what that is. Nobody be alarmed. Okay, so when I start to pull this apart, I realize because I didn't use a square, it's not going to be a circle. But look what happens. Oh my goodness, it's a butterfly. You can't imagine how surprised I was when that happened. Alright, so I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue, but you use whatever type of adhesive you want to use here. The hot glue is going to grab it tightly, but you got to be super careful not to burn your fingers. Really protect your hands. I was moving too fast this day to actually follow my own rules, y'all. But I was so excited to get this video out for y'all because the ones I did last year were so well received. I thought, yeah, we're going to do this, definitely do this again. And I love the Victorian decor. Oh, y'all look at this butterfly. She's a beaut. And then I'm going to extend the length of it a little bit by doing the top just a tad and the bottom just a tad. Just where the fold ends. Look at that. So now I'm going to cut out a section to make a little ornament to go right in the middle. And I'm going to use a pen just to mark around, and then I will go right in the inside so you don't see my pen marks and make a circle. Sharp scissors are important. I have used these poor things so much I need to sharpen them. How do you sharpen your scissors? What do y'all do to sharpen yours? Do you use the tinfoil trick or the sandpaper trick, or do you actually have like a little tool that you sharpen with? I would love to know because it would help me a lot. Alright, so I'm going to go around and around and around and around here. Try not to burn my hands. Just tiny bit of glue to put this down. If you've got the time to use glue or Mod Podge, you can certainly do that. And then just to get my circle nice and smooth, I want to set that scissor right on the edge of the wood and cut around it. This will give me the perfect smoothness that I'm looking for. You could always sand this if you wanted to. If you don't have small scissors, go ahead and sand it. I do this a lot. I'm going to grab Mod Podge and some of this Reflections, I think it says Midnight or Twilight glitter. It's a very fine black metallic, and I thought it looked so pretty with the colors on the butterfly. So we're going to trim this out with that. I'm going to grab that Mod Podge, go all around here, and let it even overlap onto the picture just a little bit. And that way it'll kind of be framed out a little. But remember, wherever you put the glue is where the glitter's going to stay. So just try to clean it up. I made a little smear in one area that I try to fix, but you know, it's not that big of a deal. It's still there, but I'm probably the only person in the world who would notice it. You know how we are about our own crafts. We critique ourselves pretty roughly sometimes. Alright, so I'm going to tap it off. I'll save the rest. Now you can always put that back in the jar. Look how beautiful that black glitter is. It's so fine and pretty. It's going to look so nice on that butterfly. So now this is just a dry brush, and I'm going to use it just to kind of clean up a little bit to get all that extra glitter off there and make it go out to these sides. You see me trying to clean it up. Whee, butterfly. Okay, so we're going to take this piece of wire, and I just get these wires on a paddle. I have silver, I have green, I have a matte green. You know, we use these with floral arrangements and for all kinds of things actually, but they're great to make your own hooks for ornaments too. So we're going to make our own hook, but we're also going to use this wire to add a little stability to our butterfly. I'm going to feed it through underneath that little piece of twine that we used to put it together. I'm going to feed it down one of the bottom wings and then just tape it on. Then I'll tape it on the top little section here too, so everything stays in place. If you put it right at the top, the weight of Santa is going to pull that forward. So in order to keep from doing that, we need to have a wire where we can flex it a little bit so that it will stand out straight when you put it on your tree. Because this is going to be a beautiful ornament for a tree. What a lovely, just statement ornament. Y'all, it's so pretty. You could add glitter on this too as well if you wanted to, but I wanted it just here on Santa. I'm going to add some hot glue. Set him right in the middle of the butterfly. Y'all look at that. Would y'all just look at that? Obsessed is not even, that's not even the best word to use for it. I don't even know what you would call it. It's so pretty. And I did surprise myself. Look at him flying. Look at my little butterfly flying. I was even playing with it. Look here. Here she goes. And there it goes. Right, flying off to Christmas. I'm going to drop it, obviously. An apple red satin Rust-Oleum spray paint. I'm going to use my awl and a hammer. I have some more of that wire. Some pearl beads or pearl rounds, little circles. And then I'm going to use some tart pans. A lot of you had told me in one of my tart pan ornaments that you had so many of these and didn't know what to do. I'm about to bring you some more inspiration. So we have 3 of each of these sizes and the red paint. We're going to take them outside and coat them down. Once they are dry, I'm going to get them lined up here. We will add some hot glue in the middle of the largest one. Set the medium size one in there. When we'll do each one of those right in there. Do y'all know what we're making? We're making poinsettias. Look at this. I found this by accident the other day. I get inspired by the weirdest things. I was stacking them up and something fell and it landed kind of one inside the other, and I thought, that looks like a flower. Can you see my fingerprint over there in the left? That's one that I got too much spray paint in and wouldn't dry all the way, so now it's on the tip of my finger. But paint all over my hands. Now, because the center of a beautiful Christmas poinsettia has the little, looks like little seated section, we're going to use pearls for that because this is Victorian, right? Yes. So I'm going to drop them in that well of hot glue because I put a good bit of hot glue in there because I want these to nest down in there flat, side by side. Look how pretty. And then I'll do the same thing with this one until it is nice and full. You can position them with your fingers, but I'm telling you, unless you're using cool temp glue, do not put your finger in that hot glue. Don't do it. It will hurt. Oh, I'm ordering myself one of those. It's a bowl, like a little pot that you put the glue pellets in for flower arrangements. So when I get it, I'll show y'all what that's like. Now, I don't have any leaves to work for a poinsettia, so I thought, you know what? I've got these thrifted pieces of holly leaves that got no berries with them. And I thought, why don't we just use our imagination and we're just going to put them together. They're both greenery for Christmas, so we're just going to put them together and we're going to make little green leaves to go on our beautiful flower ornaments. So I'm just going to stack one on top of the other. These are fragile. They're like a hard plastic and they break pretty easily, so I'm really trying to be careful how I handle them. I'm going to cut these in about probably 5 or 6 inch pieces, one for each of these flowers, because we are going to make hangers for these ornaments, of course. And you know how easy it is to make a hanger. We're going to make a little hook on the top of each one of these, leave it long on the bottom because we're going to be putting that in the ornament. Pretty. Very easy. You can always, if you don't have the wire, just use the ornament hooks that you buy at the store. You can get a big pack of those for very little, and you can probably get them at Dollar Tree. So I'll take my awl on the inside of one of those little scalloped areas, and then I have a board underneath so I don't make a hole in my table, and then I'll just go around it with my awl so I don't hurt my hand. Go through the hole, loop it back up, and then wrap it around itself. Careful not to poke your little fingers. You don't want to get a wire that is too stiff or you can hurt yourself, but you want something that's going to hold the weight of the ornament so when you hang it on the tree, it doesn't pull the hook out of the top. If that makes sense, I hope that makes sense to you. So I wouldn't recommend that really thick wire that you get at Dollar Tree, the colored wires. I don't think that would work. They're too soft. Now going by the other ornament, I'm trying to place this in about the same area, and putting it closer toward the front rather, is going to make it hang correctly so that it doesn't hang at a weird angle. You always need to be sure about that because the weight of things can change the center of it, right? So here's the last one, and we're getting it all wrapped up. And then once we know what's top and bottom, we can start adding our little leaves onto the ornaments. I ran out of glue in the other glue gun. How about that? I had to switch it over. Had two of them going at one time, and that's what I do with most of my projects. You'll see me go from the small one to the larger one, back and forth. So there's the first one. And then I'm going to put the greenery in different spots on each one of these ornaments. Just to, kind of mix it up a little bit. I'm going to hold it for a moment to let everything sit up and dry. And then on this one, we'll put it at the bottom. Look how pretty these are, y'all. Just for a little something extra, I thought let's add some sparkle in the middle. So rather than dumping glitter on here, I just want to add a little bit of a gold touch by putting some of this gold glitter Mod Podge on here. I'm brushing over all the pearls. I'm not getting it on the red at all. And then after I get each one of those little pearls done, we'll put just a tiny bit onto the leaves. I'm also focusing on any of those beads that flipped up where the hole is outward. I'm kind of plugging it with a little bit of this Mod Podge so you don't necessarily notice the bead. Then I'll take it right along the tips of the little spikes on the leaves, and then I'll go back and go right down the center with a very thin line of that gold glitter Mod Podge. You can see the little sparkle already on some of these. It's very pretty. You could use a gold foil if you wanted. That would be pretty too. And these are how these lovely little ornaments are going to look. I hope that y'all like these ornaments. I changed my display a little bit. It's kind of wrinkled, but the wrinkles will fall out gradually. But let's take a look at what we did today. Here's the beautiful surprise butterfly ornament with Santa. Very Victorian. Then we have our little trio here. I've just displayed them on a vine star. You can see the different positions of the leaves and the little touch of glitter. Here's that millwork that we did